might be the one time where you be like, yeah, no, man.
Well, there's lectures and things out there, but I usually don't work the social media. Somebody else does that. I have hard enough time remembering what to say. That's what I focus on.
Tripping hard.
Obviously, the title and the agenda on this particular workshop that we're going to be doing is 14 African Principles. All right. And before I begin, very quickly, my name is Yuya, and some people call me Chief Yuya, so they know me as Chief. And I am a teacher, but more than that, I'm probably 95% student, 5% teacher. I've been teaching in the community and working in the community for about 35 years, 25 years. Now, I first started in women's detention centers and moved from women's detention centers to youth detention centers. Now, most of you probably know me who are here. You know me from the spirituality. You know me as being a Babalawo and teaching Yoruba systems as well as the Sangoma systems as well as several other systems. But it all began actually with just me trying to service my community, and then it parlayed and grew into other things. So this workshop will not lean so heavily on the spiritual doctrine or the spiritual pedagogy, but will lean more on solutions for the community, and the community beginning with the individual. Okay, just to make it very clear, if you have spiritual questions, feel free to ask them. It's okay. You know, it won't be out of place. And obviously, because my root and my pivot is my spirituality, that will also be infused in what we will be speaking about and what we'll be covering tonight. All right? So I just want to give a little background first on that. On me, I'm just here doing the work. Been doing the work for a very long time. I've been back and forth between here and the continent, Ghana, Nigeria, different places, doing work over there, doing work over here. That's me in a nutshell. That's not so important. What's more important is that we get to these principles, okay? Because we have a little bit of time to work in, and we want to make sure that everyone gets what they're supposed to get. If anyone has paper and pen, feel free to take it out. If anyone needs paper and pen, feel free to ask the person next to you. One of the challenges that you will find that you'll have, which is pretty consistent, is that when I speak, people tend to say that you said a lot, and I wish I would have wrote it down. So before you find yourself in that position, I just figure I'll warn you now. I'm speaking slow now, but as we progress, I tend to ramp up. So once I ramp up, there's going to be more stuff coming out. All right?
Hey, brother, where are you from?
I'm from New York.
From New York. What part?
Yeah, Mount Vernon.
Mount Vernon?
Yeah. Why you ask?
I don't know, it's just something on your head.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know I don't sound. I guess I don't sound like I'm from around here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, New York. Same thing. New York feel just different accent. So 14 African principles. To make it clear on what we're covering the Nguzo Saba as well as the 7 principles of Ma'at. Okay, so when I say the 14 African principles, I'm not reinventing the wheel, but in fact just elucidating what our elders have already left for us, that maybe we haven't really been tapping into as much as we possibly might be able to, and using it as much as we may be able to. Okay, so so everyone's clear, we'll take a break in about an hour. Okay, quick 5-minute break. You go shake a tail feather, and then Bring it back on. All right? So, you know, if you're starting to get restless, don't worry. The break will be coming soon. Don't look at this like a lecture, like I'm just going to stand up here and try to show you how smart I am. Just look at it as an interactive experience. So you can ask questions at any point. There's no stupid question. The only stupid question that you could ask me is how to spell something that I just spelled. All right? I hate when people do that. Just ask the person next to you. Don't slow us up for that. When we come into consciousness, and let me ask around the room, who in here considers themselves to be consciously aware? Okay, I think you hit the buzzer first. So how did you come into consciousness?
How? I guess through finally, I guess, having a realization through trauma.
Through trauma,
Yeah.
right?
I guess I would say when I started to want to find out things that I wasn't aware of.
What sparked the inquisitive search?
I don't know for sure. I just know one day I woke up. And, well, I can't say it was one day. You know, it's
Right.
just a point in life where it's like there's got to be more than what I know out there.
See.
Right.
Okay. Brother, could you tell me what God is?
What God is,
Yes, sir.
as far as what was taught to me, or as far as the way I see it
What it
now,
is.
or the definite, you know, because when you say what God is, it can take on various forms, opposed to from what was taught to me and what it is
Right.
now that I believe.
Exactly.
So,
That's a good answer right there. That's a good answer right there. God has been something that's taken on different forms based on the expanding of his circumference of wisdom. What's God? I know you know.
God is everything in creation.
Everything in creation. Okay. So what about the things that have yet to be created? Is that God too?
That's the thoughts of God that have yet to be created.
So it's not God, but it's God's thoughts.
God's thoughts.
Okay, cool.
If it's a thought, it's a creation.
God,
If it's a thought, it's a creation.
what's God?
I've always thought God is love, but now
God is
I'm
love.
understanding that God can be not just love, but also hate.
Right. Good. So we got four different answers, correct? So ultimately, nobody really knows. We just kind of all guessing around, you know. So that's a challenge when we dealing with consciousness. And I'm not saying that we have to have a unified definition of God. In fact, if you had a unified definition of God, you'd be a zombie. Because God is an ever-expanding evolutionary essence. So whatever God is right now, then right now, it's different. Because if I just taught you something just now, in the short time that I've been speaking, if you've learned anything, that means God has just changed. Because you are the receptors and the receptacles for God's information. As you change, as you grow, and as you learn, the universe expands. As the universe expands, your ideology and your necessity for a God changes. There was a moment when a God to you was nothing but a breast. The baby, that's all God is. A breast with some liquid coming out of it. That's all God needs to be right now. But later the God will be something. God helps me pay my rent. You know, or helps me find a mate, or so forth and so on. So God is an ever-expanding force. And in fact, God is the least important piece of this whole equation. Because you created God because you were lonely. All right? Even the word is a Greek word. So it's not even like it's all that old of a concept. You know? So, but the challenge that we just discovered here is we found that different people came into consciousness differently. And I guarantee you within this room, 50% of you fell into consciousness. Right? There was no, from a child, I'm going to be conscious. I'm going to go to stores like Black and Nobel when I get older and read deep books and watch deep DVDs. You didn't have that. You wanted to be a breakdancer or a ballerina or whatever. And something may have happened. You may have been denied something in your life, and you wanted to find out why you consistently were denied something. Or you may have seen some of the imbalances on the earth plane, and something caused you to say, why is this way? Especially if you're telling me it should be different, or the fairy tales I read depict a different story. So now begins the search and the need for the articulation of consciousness. Okay, so the 14 African principles becomes necessary when we're trying to find unified terms and collective imperatives that suit our community. Those things that we create are the things that will work for us. Most important, things that we create. Now, a community's purpose, one of the main purposes of a community, is to disseminate information and knowledge that reflects the crucial imperatives of said community. For instance, they are this way because of, we are this way because of, is a signifier of a community. I'll give you an example. Jewish people have money because they are able to go into areas and find niche market services and utilize and implement them. That becomes a marker for Jewish people. Asian people do well because they pool their resources together. They work within their own communities. They patronize their own businesses and won't really patronize outside of their community. So therefore they're able to build brawny, strong communities. That is a marker of the Asian. Okay? So if you look, and we all have those markers, we've all driven through neighborhoods or walked through neighborhoods and said, you see, that's why they're in a better situation than we are, because they ... And even within the community of those who are melanin dominant, we could say the same thing. We are this way because ... Okay? That becomes an identifier marker for your community. The problem is those identifier markers, similar to what the brother said, usually come as a product of trauma or incidental observation, but they're not a product of a set of norms, values, and principles that you've established to say this is how we're going to be here on out. Like how the so-called Jews will say, never again. We would never find ourselves in a disproportionate place on this planet. We're never going to do that again. So because of that, it creates now a cultural imperative that they all comply with. We have not that. Even when we come into our consciousness, we have no markers where we say, this is what we're going to do. The marker is usually just, I'm going to be smarter and wiser than everyone else around me. I'm going to know what's going on. I'm going to be able to peep game. Or you may have seen a video and someone was breaking something down and it was so incredible, or you may have heard some music. It may have been during the conscious surge in hip-hop in the late 80s and 90s. And you may have said, I want to sound like KRS-One. I want to be able to affect people like Rakim. I want people to listen to me like that. So I now choose to be consciously aware. The challenge is that you were already consciously aware. So when I said who considers themselves to be consciously aware, the interesting thing is that pretty much everyone in the room raised their hand. The challenge was you didn't know how to articulate your consciousness. When something horrible on the planet occurred, you felt it. Even when you were in the bowels and the deepest recesses of your ignorance, you were able to feel it. The problem is you couldn't articulate what happened or why it happened. Now because you read all these books like this and you watch all the DVDs, now you have the ability to articulate it. And once you can articulate it and speak to it, you can affect it. So the 14 African principles gives us a guide point to start to affect and reconstruct our reality. Okay? Now, we're covering the laws of Ma'at as well as the Nguzo Saba for this reason. The laws of Ma'at deal with the internal order and arrangement of your internal community. That's you. Sineb. That's you. That's your internals. Okay? You are all communities unto yourselves. What are some of the aspects of that community?
Instruction.
Say that again, brother.
Instruction.
Instruction.
Destruction.
Destruction. Good. Exactly. What else?
Leadership.
Leadership.
True.
True. All of these things exist within an internal community, correct? And when I'm saying internal community, to make it easy, you, your body, your spirit, your soul, which are members of said community, as well as your drive, your ego, your personality, your emotions. These all make up of a community within you. Community may be functional or it may be dysfunctional. Who here lives within a dysfunctional community? I'm saying outside. Who here can say that they live in a place physically that is functional?
It just depends
Okay. On what?
on what's functioning.
Functioning when it's self-sustaining, it's evolving, and it's liberated. You raised?
Yeah.
You want to change your answer?
No, I don't really, cross
Okay.
those guidelines that you stated. I think we were just saying functioning as just, everything functions in its own way that has life or that doesn't have life.
But it could function towards life, or it could function towards stagnation.
Right.
So if none of us can, or neither of us in the room can signify that we live within functional communities, then we have to admit the horrible thing that none of us in the room are functional. The community is a macrocosmic representation of you as the individual who is the microcosm. So the community reflects you. If your community is dysfunctional, you're dysfunctional. That means your internal community is not working together. One of the challenges we have with our consciousness is that sometimes we get so excited about our learning, like especially when you first come into it, and you find out like about the food, or you find out about the politics, and it's like, oh, I shouldn't have been eating this, sugar's no good for me, pork's no good, they put this in the dyes, da 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 da, and then you go on this long search, and it becomes, it's a beautiful mission. You develop a love affair with your learning. Sometimes it's not an unconditional love affair as it should be, but certainly a love affair nonetheless. The challenge is sometimes you neglect the other components of your internal community. So when you neglect the other components of the internal community, then you're off kilter. You're deep, you know all the books, you know all the titles, you got all of that. But you don't know how to turn a dollar. You ain't got no money. You always broke. You're sneaking into events like this. You're coming into a place like this and trying to steal books. It happens. It happens. You have a horrible relationship with your mate, or with your children, or with your parents. You're unhealthy. You're sickly. Because you haven't really looked at your learning and your consciousness as just one component of a communal organism. Some of us think our consciousness will liberate us. No. You can be an educated fool. Because you have to have the full package in order to make this thing work. Very few people will want to or will ever acquire the full package. Just like we say community. That's why your answer changed a little bit. Because when we look at the community, we say, well, yeah, we kind of got a community. This is a learning community right here. We gather, we come together, but none of us have really eaten together. So if we haven't eaten together, we don't know each other. We haven't helped each other with our children. I mean, you don't even know people's names in the room. You don't even know the ethnic origins of the people in the room. That's not a community. We don't know each other. You see? But it is on one level because we can sit here and share information and learn together. That's not enough, though. That's not enough. And we can't rejoice in that anymore. We've been doing that for a little bit too long. So now, the introduction and my proposal of the 14 African principles brings us into a more action-based plan, action-based principles. Not something just to glorify our consciousness and our legacy by, but something to apply. So with that, let's start with the Nguzo Saba. No, we're going to start with 7 principles of mind. Before I go to that, does anyone have any questions? And let me be clear on something before I move to my next piece. I'm not speaking about establishing organizations. In fact, I propose that we need to do away with all of our organizations. And what we need to establish instead of organizations are collective imperatives. An organization can be infiltrated and dismantled. An imperative can't be. If I told you right now, I'm going to make a movement to dismantle your sex drive. Could I really do that? It ain't happening. Because you have a sex imperative. You understand that sexual survival is a part of you being a divine being. Because you have to create. If I can't create, I can't be God. I need to be the creator. Or I get stuck here. Okay, so let's get to our 7 principles of mind. Anybody know the 7 principles of mind?
Like 4 of them.
Okay, that's more than half.
Justice, reciprocity. I say I know 3 of them.
All right, that's cool. All right, so real quick, the 7 principles of Ma'at: truth, justice, reciprocity, harmony, balance, order, righteousness. Sometimes righteousness is coined as propriety. So you can put a righteousness / propriety. Sometimes people will also tell you that love is one of the 7 virtues of Ma'at, but I've not seen that in any of my study. Only on the internet.
Sorry. Who is?
Okay, we're going to get right into that. Okay. So Ma'at. Who is Ma'at? Let's do it like this. What is? What is Ma'at? Okay. So Ma'at is, well, before I go there, anybody know what Ma'at is?
Balance. Justice.
Yeah, we went through the principles, but the actual archetype.
It's a goddess deity.
Don't worry about it. We know what you mean.
Yeah, Ma'at, though, she weighs
The heart.
the heart.
Right.
Balances the heart.
Okay.
Or weighs it.
Okay.
To what? What does she compare him
Don't worry about it. You did good. You got a lot. You got already. He's over there. You know. The number 2 pencil on your side. Ma'at weighs your heart against a feather. Okay? But let's get back to who Ma'at is. Ma'at is an African archetype, of course, like you said, coming out of Kemet. But there are other systems that had a Ma'at formation. And the actual value system of ancient Kemet, when I say ancient Kemet, just so you know I'm speaking of Egypt, Egyptos, but we'll say Kemet. The moral and the imperative structure of Kemet was based on these 7 principles of Ma'at. And there were more principles. There were actually 11, and then there were 42 declarations. We're not going to get into all those right now. Okay? So the whole undergirding, the whole political underlaying, and the cultural underlaying of ancient Egypt was built on its feminine archetypes, virtues, and principles. Her name was Ma'at. The word Ma'at means authentic. So Ma'at is what is real. Authentic. And she would weigh the soul or the heart, which is considered to be the seat of the soul of an individual on the scales of this is where you get the Libra scales, the zodiac sign Libra, that's where it came from. And she would weigh the heart against a feather. And if the heart came out lighter than the feather, then you were able to pass on to the Duat, or what we call the underworld, or what you may call heaven. Heaven was originally considered to be underneath us, not over us. Okay, and that was called the Duat, or the underworld. And the whole science of weighing the heart against a feather, which is the original judgment scene, okay, it's not a thing that would happen at the end of your life. See, once we started learning about the judgment scene, we learned that, okay, you do good or you do bad, and then what happens is, you know, you're judged at the end of your life and your deeds, and either you go through the pearly white gates or you go to hell and you burn up forever. And this, in fact, is a falsehood. The judgment scene, just as the creation story, was always understood to be a now thing. So the weighing of the heart against a feather was the weighing of your ego. What it basically was this: that you travel through your life and become attached, and that you identify and attach with who you were as a human. Did you do things and carry guilt and blame because you thought your entire being did it? Did you ignore my 42 declarations, which said you didn't do any of that? The 42 declarations of Ma'at all begin with I have not. Unlike your religious declarations of the Ten Commandments, which says thou shalt not. So the 42 declarations signify that you've not lied, you've not cheated, you've not stolen, blah, 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 blah. Now, I can look in this room and I can tell that a lot of people here have broken all of those commandments. I see a lot of liars. I see thieves in the room. I see a couple of adulterers. So I got the eye for it, I know. So based on that, does that mean now all of you go to hell? No. Because Ma'at was referring to the soul. The soul has not done those things, so therefore the soul is unblemished and perfect. If you do not identify with the soul and you come to that judgment scene and you weigh your heart against the feather, the ostrich feather, then of course now the heart will be heavy because you thought that was you. You thought this is you. You think I'm Yuya. You know. But just 30 minutes ago, I was the boy. My grandfather refers to me as the boy. He calls me the boy. You know, but you call me Chief. So which one am I? Am I this Chief, or I'm the boy who just got yelled at because last time I went to his apartment, I didn't take the garbage to the incinerator? I'm all of it, I'm none of it. None of it really matters. That's why I said it's not who is Ma'at. What is? The who is always changing. The who is not really that important. Okay, the who is only functional for an environment. Okay? So, we have this understanding of Ma'at and we have the 7 principles of Ma'at. Okay, does everybody have a basic understanding of Ma'at at this point? Check. If no, I'll give you more understanding.
So is the soul attached to the ego, you were saying, or is it separate?
You have the soul is attached to the ego in the sense that the soul gives the ego its original seed of purpose. The problem is sometimes you have a spiritual ego and then you have a human ego. The human ego is necessary because that's why we're all dressed right now. Because we recognize that we're with other people in the room. We can't be in here naked. Now, the soul gives you that original mission of your human ego, where the human ego says, I came here to do this. See, a lot of times when we get into New Age thought, they tell you to remove ego, which is ridiculous. Because if you remove ego, then you don't really know what your purpose is on the planet. Because we all have the same purpose. If we all had the same purpose, then only one of us would have to be created. So the fact that consciousness has individualized itself into different people, there now has to be an implanting of what's called an ego. So you could say, I'm going to go to Philly, I'm going to deliver the 14 African principles. Because I am being called to do that. That all that I stuff is ego stuff. I'm not saying we, us, y'all ain't doing it, I'm doing it. You see? So it's attached in that sense, and you don't want to detach it. The problem is sometimes through the imbalance of the scale, we relate too much to the ego because it's dealing with third dimensional matter. You can feel the ego. You can feel when your ego is bruised. You can feel your anger. You can feel your hurt. You can even feel your joy and the loveliness that you have for life. That's all your ego too. Justin, you over there, you enjoying your cologne that you're wearing right now, right? You're just being egotistical, you see, because you're enjoying life too much. That's the ego. So it's not just being selfish and being greedy and being mean. It's also identifying with what we think the beauty of life is. And the beauty of life is saying I don't care anything about it. The moment you say I don't care anything about it is the moment that you now find out what the real life is. So they say, oh, okay, you didn't fall for the trick. All right, so let me show you the real stuff. That's mine. We've all had that experience. We've all been in relationships, and you fell for someone because they looked a certain way. And then after a while, they were so nasty, they didn't look so good anymore. You forgot. You only remember when somebody else said, that's who you with? Oh, yeah. I forgot they're good looking. And then you realize something after a while that doesn't even matter if you're a jerk. If your spirit and soul is corrupt, or spirit is corrupt, I don't care what the shell says. You see? That's mine. So let's go through some of these principles. First one is truth. Okay? Truth is a tricky one because a lot of people think truth is what is real, right? Truth is reality. But in fact, as I just explained to you, your perceived reality is a lie. So truth is not your ability to conform with reality. That's the trick. People will say, listen, man, it's hard out here. They doing us. It's conspiracy theories. You know, they about to do this. The King Alpha plan. They doing that. That's the truth. I'm trying to just share the truth with you. That's not the truth. You're conforming to a manufactured reality. Truth is the actual essence of a force. Truth is a force in its actualized state. That's what truth is. It's a force in its actualized state. And be clear on something. Everything is a force. There are no things. Everything is vibrating. Everything is made of matter that's condensed itself. But before it condensed itself, it was a thought. I think somebody told me about thoughts, early thoughts of God. And then the thought had to fall to the planet, to the earth, and then condense itself into this rack for books. But inside of this rack of books is an intention. So if there's an intention inside of this, that means there's something alive inside of it. What is inside of here is the truth. What you're perceiving with your eyes is the lie. Everybody clear on that? If you're not clear, say it. You don't have to pretend like you're deep in front of me. That's one of the things we got to stop doing. Okay. So our other principle we're going to cover, justice. Now, as some of you know, I don't really like to use the word justice too much because it's just so ugly sounding. So I usually use even-handedness, but I'm going to use the term justice so that way when you look up the laws of Ma'at, you won't get thrown off. Okay? Now, what is justice? Somebody just broadcasted the show. Order?
It's like karma.
Is it like karma?
It's a way.
It could be. Okay. So we kind of got a little bit. We in there a little bit. We're around the area. Justice is reward or punishment. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. The closer you get to the truth of something, the simpler it gets. Justice is just reward or punishment. The challenge with justice, though, is that justice defines character. Your character is defined by the justice that you give or the justice that you receive. Because justice defines an individual. Just like your children, right? When they go to school and they do good in school, they'll come home and they'll tell you what? I'm a straight A student. They just define themselves by their reward. So now, if you don't define them before the school defines them, your definition doesn't mean that much anymore. I tell my children that they're genius before anybody else tells them. So you got your definition from Baba first. So I defined your path. That's why justice can be tricky. Okay? Now, justice also, when we say it's reward and punishment, I want you to keep in mind that it's reward and punishment based on your own perceptual definition of yourself. So what you consider to be justice, what may not be what I consider to be justice. It's not universal. We've fallen into that trap when we think it is universal. So when something happens, we call for justice. Well, justice to me, most of the time, I think most people should just be killed. Like 9 out of 10 offenses, I just say just kill them.
Truth is truth universal. Truth.
Is truth universal?
Is truth universal?
Truth is universal, but the problem with truth is that it's mutable. It
truth
changes.
Has problems.
Truth doesn't have problems. Truth changes.
Yeah.
And the change, if truth didn't change and was absolute, that would be a problem. Because then that would mean that it's dead. Anything that's perfect, that's not changing, is dead. So the fact that truth is mutable and it's constantly growing and it's expanding, it's alive. So it's going to change. So hopefully if I come back here again later, I'll be contradicting everything I'm saying tonight. I hope you'll be saying it. That brother's a liar. He still did. He said truth changed. Now he's saying truth doesn't change. Because if I come back and I contradict everything I said tonight, that means the universe has changed. The laws have changed. So I got to keep up. I got to give you the new laws. It's changed now. I mean, the hot thing used to be Spoonie G. Spoonie G, Busy Bee, that was hot. That was the newest, hottest music. A lot of people probably don't even know who I'm talking about right now. Because it changed. The hotness changed. Everything changes. Okay? So, that was justice. Reciprocity. Okay? No.
Before on justice, wouldn't it be a balance between two parties? Wouldn't that be justice when it's a balance?
Only if those two define themselves within the same cultural continuum.
Right.
If I don't define myself within our same cultural continuum, then it's not balanced. Because again, it's reward and punishment. If I give you my tablet and you pay me with Bahamian dollars because they mean something to you, I might say, no, give me US dollars. Well, you didn't give me the right reward for what I gave you. But in your mind, you're like, look, this is worth more in my country. You see, because I'm from the Bahamas, it's worth more. So it won't really be balanced. Unless we define ourselves within the same cultural continuum, then it will be the same. The cut in the ilk that I'm from, like even when me and my father talk, we all think everyone should be killed most of the time. You know, and it's not that I got that from him. I didn't realize that until I was an adult and we'd sit and talk. And something would happen. I'd say, you know, we need to cut that person's head off and put it on a stick and put it in front of the house. You know, you told him don't put no pickles on your sandwich. Let's go back and kill him. Not to that extreme, but most of the time I think people always be killed. Because I don't have the value for life that you guys might have. And I think we overvalue life a little bit too much. And one of the reasons why we haven't really changed things in our community, because we value life too much. Nobody wants to bleed. Nobody wants to make anybody else bleed. So therefore, there's going to be no blood sacrifice. There's going to be no change. Sometimes you need blood atonement, like we used to do. Like Shaka Zulu did. But we'll just keep being smart and praying. So, reciprocity. Reciprocity comes from two terms. Okay. Re, meaning to go back to the source. Also where you get re coming from Ra, meaning divine light, or more specifically source. Anytime you see re, like rewind, repeat, re whatever, it always means to go back, but what it's really telling you to do is go back to the source. Respect. Spec means to see, re means the source. So when I see you, I should see the source, not the shell. I can't respect you unless I see the source. Okay? Reciprocity is re, and it also has a Latin word, procus. Procus means to move forward, like proactive. Pro goes forward. So reciprocity, all it means is to go backwards and go forward. That's reciprocity. And in the more parathenical and conceptual sense, it means to give what you get or to get what you give. That's reciprocity. Reciprocity. You might know what Ashe is? Ashe. A-S-C.
Like an affirmation.
It could be an affirmation, yeah.
Power, right?
Power, right. Reciprocity is the Ashe of a community. It's very important. Because reciprocity signifies a cycle of give and take. You see? You don't get anything unless you give something. You see? You don't even have the power to give something unless you've first gotten something. Whether it's food, energy, whatever it is, that's reciprocity. Reciprocity is an animating force of a community externally as well as your internal community. Even right now, as you're sitting listening to me, there's a metabolic process that's going on, right? You're breathing in, breathing out. You're building cells, you're destroying cells. Reciprocity. You stop doing that, you're gone in this form. So you see how important reciprocity is? Then we have the principle of harmony. Okay. Harmony is agreed joining. This is probably the most, I'd say this is the most important principle for the conscious community. It's harmony. It's joining based on your agreement. Harmony is what we use to create the conceptual contract between each other. That's harmony. Okay? So the fact that I say I'm Yuya and you all accept that, we've contracted. That within itself is harmony. Okay? Do not confuse harmony with unity. We're going to get into why. But harmony is a contract based on agreement. Now, you can listen to a pleasant harmony or you can listen to an unpleasant harmony. But nonetheless, it doesn't make it disharmonious just because the notes don't go together. So, internally, you could have all your different organs functioning improperly and not working together. But if you agree on it being in harmony, then you've now made a contract and an agreement with this function. You can go to a church all your life, and the church may not answer one question in your life or solve one issue. So the church's agenda and mission is not in harmony with your own personal agenda and mission. It's disharmonious. But if you agree to it, it will continue on. See why harmony is so important when you become conscious? Because once you become conscious, or you can articulate conscious, or you wake up, you're able now to kind of feel your vibration a little better. And you can feel others' vibrations. And you may still find yourself in the midst of a dysfunctional harmony, even though you're brilliant. So therefore, if the harmony is dysfunctional and it hits a bad chord in the universe, nothing gets produced because nobody wants to hear that. You understand what I'm saying? I know it's a bit abstract, but harmony is an abstract principle, but it's critical. So harmony is your agreement of joining. It's your contractual joining, whether it's good or bad. Okay. And it's the vibrations that we agree to join in order to compose reality. Anybody here familiar with string theory? Don't worry about it. Okay. String theory deals with, let's just say this. We'll skip string theory for the sake of time. Everything in the universe is vibrating. Nothing is standing still, right? So you're vibrating, I'm vibrating, you're vibrating. Everybody here is vibrating. And not only are you vibrating, you're actually giving off a note that can be recorded with microphones. You're giving off a tone. Okay? So we're all vibrating on a different frequency. But harmony are the different vibrations of our perceived reality that compose that reality. I'm vibrating at a certain frequency. Now all of a sudden when I start vibrating at that frequency, you can see me. You can hear me. The shirts are, the books are, the racks are, the floor is. And it's different, those different frequencies make up what we call reality. Okay? When they come together, that's the harmony. Now, balance. We spoke about balance before. Here's an easy one. Balance is steadiness on the horizontal plane. This is balance. We never think about balance like this or like that. We think about balance like this and this. It's dealing with the horizontal plane. So balance is our ability to traverse or trod or walk along the horizon. That's balance. Horizon, coming from Haru, rising. So your ability and your potential to balance yourself along this horizontal plane of human life is directly proportionate to your ability to ascend towards divine life. If you can't balance it out here, you can't get it right going this way. This way, the vertical is the feminine. The horizontal is the masculine. James Brown told you that. He told you it was a man's world. He wasn't lying. This here is for men. Heaven, the unseen, is for women. It's all yin. Earth is all yang. How do we know it's yang? Because everything that's here, its vibration seeks to be defined and expressed. That's why we can feel everything. That's the masculine aspect. The feminine aspect contracts and is never seen. That's why I asked the question, is God still God if it's not created? If it's unseen, is it still God? And yeah, that's actually the bigger part of it. Even when we look into this room currently, there's more in this room that we can't see than what we can see. Because we got more air in here than we actually have furniture and floor. Okay? So that's what balance is. Order. Order is arrangement. Order is the arrangement of the divine essence. This is what order is. Order is stillness. Now, once order is established, infinite possibilities become established. You only have infinite possibilities as long as you're staying still. Because possibilities is really infinite potential. As long as I'm sitting here still, I can go any way. The moment I decide to create, I've now forced myself down a channel of expression. Forcing myself down that one channel of expression removes infinite possibilities. So what should I do?
What's your intention, to create or to remain in order, I guess?
You answered it. You already skipped ahead and answered. It's based on my intention. I said, what should I do? Should I stay still or should I move? If I stay still, I have infinite possibilities. If I move, I can only go down that one channel of creation. So, my choice is this. I have to do both. Stillness, movement. Stillness, movement. Stillness, movement. Order, creation. Order, creation. Okay? So order is the arrangement of divine essence. And the divine essence has to be arranged first before you can create anything. So look at it like this to make it even simpler. Look at order as a clear mental image. It's a clear vision. It's a visualization. And look at creation as that mental image manifested. Okay? So there has to be a combination between what I visualize and what I actualize. That would be the interplay between order and creativity. The moment I order and arrange my divine essence is the moment that I come into the realm of the masculine. What was it before it was ordered?
Chaos.
Chaos. Chaos is feminine. Okay. Women are chaotic. You know. Women are also crazy. I want to see how many had. Now I'm joking on that one. I want to see how many people did this. We had a couple. I'm not going to tell them. No, women are chaos. Chaos and crazy are not the same. Chaos and confusion are not the same. Okay, it's something different. Disharmony is confusion. Jazz music, ad-libbing, is chaos. What you gonna play? I don't know what I'm gonna play. But what tempo? It's gonna be a 4/4 timing, and we're just gonna riff in G minor. All right, let's hit it. Go. Boom, boom, boom. Nobody knew what we were getting ready to do. We felt it. That's chaotic. Now we bring it to order when somebody says 1, 2, 3. Okay, there's the grid. Okay. Our last principle of Ma'at is propriety or righteousness. This is another tricky one. Anybody know what righteousness is? You've used that word before. Oh, you can do it. Okay, you're raising your hand.
Like you do right by you, by your soul.
Do right by your soul? Okay, I'll take that. That works. That's a good answer. Anybody else? Righteousness or propriety? Or to be pious?
To be pious, to be godly. Righteousness is to attempt to live godly or quote unquote holy.
Right.
Respect laws that's in the universe.
Good. All that's good. All of that is correct. Okay? What are the laws of the universe? Yeah, I know. Exactly. Nobody knows, really. Because Ma'at. But it changes. You know what I'm saying? 7 principles I just gave you for Ma'at. You writing this stuff down because you didn't hear it before. You heard the basics that they got on the internet. Because I updated it. Because it needs to be updated. Why did I update it? Because I'm righteous. Righteousness and propriety is doing what's appropriate and current for the moment. That's righteousness. Even by etymological definition, just so you know. So even the person who invented the word, that's what it actually... Propriety comes from, this is where we get the word proper. So what is the proper thing to do? Well, whatever the proper thing is to do in the moment. That's what's proper. What is the righteous thing to do? Well, whatever's right to do. That's righteous. I can't tell you what's righteousness. I can't tell you what propriety is because I don't know your situation. So it has to change and mutate like so many other things. If you go into a court of statutes and you have an entire system against you trying to affect the quality of your life or put you away for 40 years, your righteousness may say, I'm going to police. I'm not even going to go through this trial because I already know what they're going to do. I'm leaving. Your righteousness may say, we got some seats in the front. You know, your righteousness may tell you something else. Your righteousness may tell you, if the prosecutor's going to stick to his lie, I'm going to stick to my lie. See, you know, we get confused with righteousness and propriety because there was a time when you do something like you go to a court of law, the put a Bible in front of you. And they say, all right now, Jeremiah, now you're a good Christian, ain't you? Yes, sir. You be sitting with your hat in your hand, you know, like that. And now you put your hand on it. Now you know you swear on this Bible, Jeremiah. You got to tell the truth. You see? Now, first of all, that's your justice. I don't define myself by this book. So now I have to accept your justice. So if I accept your justice, I accept your definition of myself. Of course we did. And then you telling me not to lie may not be the righteous thing to do. Yeah, I broke into that hardware store. Yeah, because I got tired of you coming and burning sticks on my lawn. So I broke into the hardware store and got me some machetes. I'm going to lie about it. Because my righteousness and my propriety should always march me towards liberation. If your righteousness or your propriety does not march you towards liberation, it's wrong. Then you're being sinful. And the reason it's so tricky, because it's very easy to instill guilt in you for telling you you didn't do something that God wanted you to do. But we just figured out that God is evolving and changing. So if God is ever evolving and changing, you don't know what the heck God wants me to do. And what God are we talking about? And who says I want to do what God tells me to do? Adam and Eve did. And because of that, they got to go through Dua. They got to get the knowledge. God had them in the garden acting like a bunch of robots. Maybe sometimes it's good to be a little disobedient. Because through your disobedience, you grow. You know, like when you became conscious, and you said, don't call me that anymore, call me this. And your parents said, well, if you don't like it, get out of my house. And you said, you know what? I'm going to do me. I'm going to be called this, and I'm going to eat this way, and I'm going to do that. And because I did that now, I'm more conscious than you are, and I can come back and teach you something. There's value in disobedience. Anybody need a break? We're coming to the break time. Everybody good? Let me know. All right. Before you start fading out on me. Anybody have any questions? Okay. Good. And remember, at any moment, so let's go into the Nguzu Saba. Okay. Nguzu Saba means what? No problem. Anybody here practice Kwanzaa? No problem. Okay, so we'll get into it. Nguzu Saba means 7 fruits. Saba, just like Sheba, means 7. Or Sabbath, or Sabbat. Nguzu means fruit.
How do you spell it?
I told you about that. I'm just joking. Saba is S-A-B-A. You want the first one, I know. The hard one. That was the easy one. And Nguzu is N-G-Z-O. See the erasers. Now we're dealing with the external. All that time we were talking just now, we were talking about just you as an individual, your internal community. Now we're dealing with the external community. Okay? External community is what you may identify to be with as your culture, your art, your entertainment, your spirituality, your politics, your education, so forth and so on. Okay? That would be the external community. Now, in that, we have 7 principles. I'll go through them quickly, and then I'll do the rundown for you. Okay, we got Umoja. I'll spell them the second time. Kuji Chagalia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kuamba, and Imani. Okay, that's Bantu. People will tell you that it's Kiswahili, but it's actually really Bantu. Okay, B-A-N-T-U. And Kwanzaa was created, I think it was in 73 or 76. I think it was 73. By Malana Karenga. Anybody familiar with him? Don't worry about it. Okay, some people. Okay. Back in the days, he was with a group known as the Sons of Africa, which was similar to the Black Liberation Army. Ever heard of Black Liberation Army?
What city did the Sons of Africa?
He was coming out of California at that time. Back then, you had the Black Panthers. You're all familiar with Black Panthers, right? Which was a political party. Clear on that. Black Panthers was a political party. So who was shooting everybody and doing all the ambush on the cops? They had an underground unit called the Black Liberation Army. Okay, that's the ones who was actually toting the guns with the bullets and shooting them. Okay, the Sons of Africa was an outfit that was similar to the Black Liberation Army. Matter of fact, they ended up getting infiltrated, and they started going at each other. Violently. There was gunplay between the Black Liberation Army and the Sons of Africa. Imagine that. You know. So I'm telling you all of this because you might look this up later, and you're gonna read, "Oh, he was an agent," because there was some talk that he was an agent. He wasn't though, but there was some talk that he was an agent, and he instigated gunplay between the two factions and stuff. But it was much deeper than that because now we know about COINTELPRO. Okay. So you got to add your knowledge of COINTELPRO and put that onto it. Okay.
Are you surprised at how big Kwanzaa has become? Is it fair to say Kwanzaa has been commercialized?
You know what? I'll tell you something, brother. I have actually never celebrated Christmas. Okay. I grew up celebrating Kwanzaa. Okay. So I really don't know how big it is.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
Yeah, like I see some people talk about it once in a while. I don't really monitor it too much because for me, I grew up at a time. We were the only ones who did it, but I didn't know Christmas trees and all of that stuff. I didn't know what that was about. Yeah. You know, so that always just seemed humongous to me. You know, coming up as a youth because, you know, in school that's what it was and everything like that. I do remember. I can think back. I remember around the time when like Kmart, before Walmart, started carrying the kente cloth around this time. I do remember that.
Hallmark has something Kwanzaa related. Sure.
Yeah, because they have the what's the card division that they have?
Mahogany.
Mahogany, right? Mahogany division is 6 writers, none of which are black.
What?
Yeah, the Mahogany division of Hallmark is comprised of 6 writers, none are black. So I know you thought you was buying it like I'm supporting. You better write your own card, you know. So with the Kwanzaa thing, I don't know, it's whatever. For me, I'll be honest with you, celebrating it once a year is kind of nonsensical to me. Okay, because it's something that we have to live every day. Those principles that I'm going over, we have to live them daily. So for me, we always had the Kanara in the house, and the principles were always on the wall. And, you know, whenever something wasn't right, you got pointed to those principles. That's how I perceive it. So I never really monitored what was going on with everybody else. Okay? So Kwanzaa, getting back to, we're going to get into the 7 principles real quick. And we have Umoja, Kuichakalia, Ujima, Ujama, Nia, Kuamba, Imani. Umoja means unity. Moja means one. Moja is unity. And I'm going to give you Baba Karanga's like little tag on it, and then I'll give you my own because he came up with this, you know, it was a long time ago. So we're talking 40 years from now. It's time to kind of update a little bit, you know. To strive and maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race. That was his defining point of Umoja, or unity. So I say unity is alignment with one mission and pulse. Without a mission, unity can be used as a weapon of genocide. In fact, we're in Philly. I remember it was a year or 2 ago. I was reading an article on this thing that they do with Twitter and Facebook where the children organize. And they do what they call it. They don't call it wilding. I forget what they call it. But they all organize. Flash mob. Yeah. Right, that's it. And they come and they just tear everything up. Right? Oh, I'm not should be smiling so much. But I thought it was amazing. I thought it was beautiful that they were able to organize like that. Because, I mean, how valuable is this information to you? Is it valuable at all, what I'm saying? It is? Absolutely. Look at the room, though. This is barely a mile. It's definitely a flash. You see what I'm saying? So I thought it was beautiful that those youth were able to get together like that. You know, now their cause and their purpose certainly was a bit demonic, but you know, at the same time, we got to look at that. So unity, they're unified. They were definitely unified, but they were suicidal. You see, because when you're unifying and you're doing something like that, this now gives other people the excuse to do other things to you that you haven't even prepared for yet. It's different if you do that and then you prepared for it, because then when they chase you down the alley, you got something waiting for them. Okay? So unity can be a tool of destruction against your own people. Unity relates itself to harmony. That's why I said that's the most important principle when you become into conscious awareness. Is to understand and define who it is that you decide to unify with. One of our biggest challenges and struggles, because again, a lot of our understanding of consciousness comes from the 60s and the 70s. We're still kind of behind the times a little bit on it. We immediately get smart, we know some stuff, and then we want to do what? Save our people. Save the babies. Right? We got to go out there and save these babies. What babies? These Negroes doing flash mobs? That's what you're saving? They'll kill you first. Because you're trying to unify with somebody who's vibrating on a different frequency, when you should be vibrating on your own frequency and seeing if they want to tune into it. But you going down after them, that's a suicide mission. Okay? So unity, if not processed correctly, could destroy you. It's genetic suicide. Kuji Chakalia, self-determination. Now, Kuji Chakalia, as far as Baba Karenga, is to define ourselves, name ourselves, create for ourselves, and speak for ourselves. Excellent. Okay? Still pretty accurate, still what we need to do. The only challenge is that we figured out now that when we do that, they put us in jail. Because that boy in 4th grade who does that, he's the one who says, why are we doing this? This is stupid. Why I got to learn this? Go to the principal's office. And then after the principal's office, we're going to send you to detention, which prepares you for jail. You see, that's all I'm saying. So, I say Kuji Chakalia is one of the most important principles for the consciously aware. We cannot be swayed and influenced by external forces. It is fear that blocks the path to self-determination, because fear instills the idea of the possibility of a loss of power. True power is internal, not external. So this is within itself a farce. So our self-determination uses ourselves as the reference point. That's key. We use no external entities or human models to reference what we need to be doing or how we should define ourselves. That takes us back to the idea of justice. See how they're all related within themselves? Okay? And in fact, I'm going to give you the correlations now for the sake of time. Kuji Chakalia relates itself to the Ma'atic principle of truth. Because truth is what? The veritable and defined essence. It's defined essence. So Kuji Chakalia, being self-definition, is the truth of your community. The truth of what you will be in your community. Not what the external forces tell you you are or what your community is. External forces will always seek to define you, because external forces always feel the binary pull of power and powerless. It always goes between the two of them. So they don't use themselves as the reference point. If you use yourself as the reference point, you'll never feel powerless. You only feel powerless when you're looking at somebody else. That's not Kuji Chakalia. You can't build a community that way. Okay. Remember, when we're talking about the Nguzo Saba, we're talking about the principles needed in order to build a community. Okay. So now we go to Ujima. Ujima is collective work and responsibility. Anybody have an idea what that might be? Collective work and responsibility.
Baby.
Yes, that's a good example. Right. Okay. Great example. You holding the baby, he's holding the baby, we both gonna hold the baby. Right? The baby needs to be held. Collective work and responsibility. Collective work and responsibility relates itself to our Ma'atic principle of justice. Justice. So Baba Karenga says to build and maintain our community together and make our brothers and sisters' problems our problems and to solve them together. This is Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Yuya says, Ujima not only calls for us to become one another's keepers, but also calls for us to enforce a collective policy across the board. Like, how do we deal with child molesters? I'm saying, it's killing. It's easier. It's just easier. You put them in jail, they're going to go on another floor, they go on a whole... Everybody thinks when you're child molested, it means everybody jumping. That's not the case, because sometimes you go into a whole nother tier. And if you're waiting for trial, you could be in another tier for 2 years. Safe. You get a whole nother set of food. Sometimes you eat out of officers' quarters. So you're getting onion rings and pasta, you're getting good food. There's a smaller group, so you're really in a dorm. So there might only be like 10 of you in a jail of like 500 people or 500 in your tier. You got it pretty good. And then all you're doing is you're around other child molesters, so you're just sharing your stories back and forth. Just kill them. Let them come back and try it again. That's my theory. It's not that big a deal to kill somebody. Okay, so I say it calls for collective policies. Okay? For instance, men, when we meet a woman who has children and we like her, what do we do?
Add on.
Add on to the family, right? Be there for the child too. I did ask the men.
I was going to say build a relationship with the child.
Build a relationship with the child. How about we ask about the father? What happened? What did he do? What did you do? Are the children going to try to kill me in my sleep? Because I ain't did that.
You died at night, huh?
That's what I'm saying. See, across the board, if we ask those questions collectively, I bet you less women will be inclined to leave their families. If we didn't do the Oprah thing, we meet him. He was abusive. Oh, he was abusive. Come on and join my family then. If we backed him up for a second, what do you mean he's abusive? What happened? Exactly what happened. I hit him upside the head with an iron, and then after that, he tried to choke me. He crazy. Oh, wait a minute now. You see? Because we don't have a collective policy, we have no sense of brotherhood. It's no different for the women why y'all ain't manning and out of your head. You don't have a collective policy either, how you deal with certain things. How do you deal with each other's children? How do you deal with men who have children? Collectively. Because if you establish a collective policy, I bet you less men will be dropping their seed all over the place. If you said, no, wait a minute. If you don't have a healthy relationship with your children or your ex, you can't come. I don't care how lonely I am. I don't care how long I've been alone. Nah. And then we would govern ourselves differently. Guarantee you. That's collective work and responsibility. That's being your brother and your sister's keeper. I know. When do we actually call someone a traitor to their people? And what do we do? For example, I think if someone proves themselves to be a traitor to their people, even if they're not our people, we should shun them. They shouldn't be able to find a home and a place within our community if you've been a traitor and treasonous to your own people. See, that's collective work and responsibility. And that's why it relates itself to justice. Because it's how we define our community. It's how we define the rewards and punishments. It's how we exchange that energy between each other. It is through our justice and our systems of rewards and punishments that we build camaraderie. Because it also establishes a healthy sense of competition. And then we all want to keep each other from the punishment. See? So Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Baba Karanga's, to build and maintain our own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit from them together. This is Ujamaa. Cooperative economics. Challenge here is that too many people don't know actually what economics is or what economy is. They think it's just money. Okay, so real quick, I've explained it before on my show, but for those who don't listen to the show, I'll give it to you real quick. Economy is broken up of two different words, eco and nomenos. Eco means life, just like ecology, stuff like you know what eco means. And nomenos or nomos means the homestead or the home. So economy is the life of the home. That's it. It has nothing to do with money. Economy is more based in relationships than it is actual currency. Because if I have good relationships, I don't even need currency. So, I say our economics are the goods and services that sustain our lives. Your juicer is a part of your economy. You know, your gym membership is a part of your economy. Your meditation practices are a part of your economy. Your peaceful relationship that you have with your lover is a part of your economy. Okay? If we do not control the mechanisms that support our homesteads, then we do not control our lives. Because economy is the mechanisms of the homestead. We have to control that. The homestead is the life. So if you don't control those mechanisms, then you don't control it. If you don't control how water gets to your home, you don't control your home. If you don't control the wiring or the processing of sunlight, if you don't control, like after this beautiful lecture, most are going to go to the supermarket to another store to get some food. That's not cooperative economics. So this cannot be done within a vacuum, the controlling of our lives, or on a lone farm in the countryside. It calls for those of us, amongst us, who are about our mission, our cause, and our plan to gather our sustaining forces together. Okay? Now, cooperative economics relates itself to reciprocity. Remember what I said reciprocity is to the community? Anybody remember? It's the Ashe. It's good.
Go back to the source.
Yeah, going back, but going forward too. Reciprocity is back and forth. So, reciprocity relates itself to cooperative economics because reciprocity is how you keep things flowing within your internal system. Reciprocity governs the flow. Economy governs the flow. That's why money is called currency. It's a current. It flows just like water. It flows just like electricity. In fact, for anyone who has a degree in economics, you'll know that you can get in classes a lot of times, I don't know if they still do this, but they should teach you basic electronics to understand the economy. It's the same way electricity flows through a circuit. It's the same way economics and money is studied within a community. Same exact thing. Okay, the way it's turned off, the way it's grounded, the way it's split off, same thing. That's why the same terms are used. Charge, discharge, same thing. Okay? And of course that takes you into the courtroom. That's why we know most courts are commercial courts because they have notes at the bottom when you get your charges and the judge sits on the bench. The bench is a form of the word bank. So the judge actually sits on the bank. Okay, and you're given charges. And one of the when you ever learn legalese, one of the legal terms that you can use is discharge. So whenever you go, even if you get a moving violation, You can come to court saying, I'm here to discharge the charges against me. Meaning, I'm grounding them out. And all I have to say is, I'm here to discharge the charges against me. Can I be forgiven? That's one of the worst things the judge wants to hear. Can I be forgiven? Because they have to either say, no, we won't forgive you, or yes, you can be forgiven. And if I can be forgiven, they can't say, no, you can't be forgiven. They can only say you did something, you have to plead, which means to beg us. And then after you beg us, we'll tell you how much it will cost for us to let you go. That's your charges. You call it a fine. So if you say, I'm here to discharge those charges, can I be forgiven? It takes you to a whole other vibration. Yep. Okay, so that is reciprocity. That is cooperative economics. Now we have NIA, which means purpose. Some of you probably know somebody named Nia. Her name means purpose. Okay. And Baba Karinga says to make our collective vocation the building and developing of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. This is what purpose is. Okay? And I say the principle of NIA causes us to look at the solutions and lifestyles that are relevant to our condition so that we can create a situation which reflects the call of Kuji Chagalia. See, Kuji Chagalia is directly connected to NIA. What's the point in having a purpose if you don't know, if you haven't defined yourself first? That's why I could ask the room right now, how many people know their life purpose? I bet you will probably get maybe 2 hands. Out of all the people here. Got a lot of smart people here, I can see it. Deep people, you're into this information, stuff like this, you haven't even figured out what your life purpose is because you haven't defined yourself.
Should a person be disappointed in their life purpose? They know their life purpose. Should a person feel disappointed in their life's purpose?
The only way you would feel disappointed in your life purpose is if you're leaning so hard on the ego that idea and thought that the ego gave you, that what you are, it drove you so far away. Okay? Whenever you discover what your purpose is, you'll always feel a level of exhilaration. And the reason you'll feel that exhilaration is because you just connected with your soul. Your soul holds the key, the seed of what that purpose is. Okay? So you got to use your feelings as a guider sometimes too. So it's a double-edged thing. When we're making decisions for our community, one of the challenges that sometimes we don't fly into is really determining, well, how does this decision make me feel? If I don't feel too good about this, maybe I shouldn't really be doing it. So even if I say I've discovered my purpose, but I still feel unfulfilled, maybe you ain't got it yet. Which is possible, which is fine. You may be on a path, but the path may be wider than you might realize it actually is. Your purpose is the question you came down to answer. We all got a question, whatever it is. And it may be something so small that you just can't believe it. You know, we all come from varied bloodlines, right? I don't know what my bloodline would look like if I mix with somebody else's bloodline. That child that we might create, that might have been my purpose. Because the Almighty, the Creator, wants to see what that looks like. Because it doesn't know. And we might say, well, nah, I need something bigger. You know, like it's a deck. And we like, nah, shuffle again. Nah, I got some garbage cards. It doesn't work like that. And the truth is, the quicker you find out your purpose, the quicker you enact and pursue it and move on it, the quicker you can go somewhere else and establish other worlds. You know, it's just answering the question. That's all it is. It's none of this deep stuff that sometimes we apply to. So, that's our NIA. No, I'm sorry. What were we on? We were on NIA, right? Okay. So the reason why I say your purpose should be relevant to your condition. Okay. So NIA relates itself to righteousness and propriety. The fulfillment and the pursuing of your purpose is what actually makes you righteous. Because your purpose should always fit into the realms of what and we're talking about external community now, of what the external community needs. Like I got family in the Caribbean. You go to the Caribbean Everybody's purpose is to be an entertainer. All my little cousins, all of them, yo, you know, to be an entertainer, to be an entertainer. Come on, man. Like, I mean, we got enough. You know, and then you ain't got no education anyway, so you ain't really got nothing to talk about. Except, so my car. You know? So, your purpose is always going to be driven by the condition. Or more so, the situation. And once you pursue the purpose, your situation will become a better condition. Everybody understand that? Okay. So that's why purpose is directly linked to propriety. If your purpose is not moving you towards liberation and your community towards liberation, then chances are it really ain't your purpose. It just feels good. Like when most people get conscious, what's the first thing they say their purpose is? To help people. Everybody says the same thing. All the women want to become healers. All the women say, I'm here to heal. I'm supposed to be a healer of some kind of sort. I don't know. And all the men say that they're supposed to be teachers. That's not really realistic, in all honesty. Like we all the women supposed to heal, all the men supposed to teach. And the fact is, what I'm doing right here, I'm just doing some placeholder business right here. Because I'm really not supposed to be teaching. It's supposed to be a woman up there doing this. That's your job. My job is to go out there and kill stuff. It is. It really is. I gotta kill stuff because if I don't kill stuff, then you have no place to put your school. Somebody's got to clear the land. And then somebody's got to set up a perimeter and guard it. Because if I don't go kill something, I might be talking about trees. If I don't clear some land and set up a perimeter and guard it, whatever you think you built for somebody else. Because they're just sitting back waiting for you to build it and they ain't going to come take it. Like what keeps happening to us over and over. Okay? So you got to raise your sons with the desire to heal and to kill. I know, it's kind of ugly. But, you know, I used to live in a place where I'd say pretty much 99% of my school was Caucasian. The only other melanated, really me and my brother, it was just two of us. Three of us. Okay? And I remember like the first day of show and tell, I was telling somebody this recently. I remember in second grade, it was show and tell. I was a new student, so I didn't really have anything. I living in Harlem, we didn't have show and tell. You know, so, because you don't tell. You know what I'm saying? Like, raised not to snitch. We don't do telling of any sort. So everybody's pulling out their little stuff. I remember one time this girl, Bonnie, she had a horse called Hot Shot. So she was pulling all the pictures of a horse. And another kid, Mark, he came out with all these pictures of deer that him and his father had killed that weekend. Okay, a buck. And all the other guys, and boy, we little kids, they knew what to do. Oh, look at the horns and this. What did you use? I used my 22. My dad's got it. I'm sitting there. I know how to spin on my head. And look at these pumas. Look at these laces. That's what I knew. You see? And I knew how to talk to little girls and stuff like that and get them and get kisses or whatever. So I learned how to use my genitalia before I learned how to use the pistols. They had the pistols down pat. You see? So when we talk about the relevancy of our purpose, we have to also look at our condition and our situation. Where I lived at that time for a very short period, it was a heaven for them. Because there were certain elements that weren't there. And they were sure that they knew how to protect what they built. To the point that their children were like child armies. And meanwhile, I could just spin on my head. And I wanted to be a breakdancer when I grew up. Imagine that. If you would ask me, I would say, that's my purpose. You see? So, Kuumba, creativity. Kuumba. I don't think I spelled it the other one. I'm sorry, I forgot. He looked it up online. You was cool. Kuumba. Kuumba means creativity. Now, what did I tell you creativity associates itself to? Anybody remember? Don't worry about it. You got it. order. So Kuwamba relates itself to the Ma'atic principle of order. So Baba Karanga, to do always as much as we can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited. Okay? The challenge with that is, since 1973, what are we in, 2015 almost? We figured something out, at least some of us, we don't actually have a community. So this doesn't really work the same way now. We thought we had a community back then because there were actually pockets of communities actually building. Now, we don't have anything that we sustain on our own. So there is no community. So I would say, in this moment, divine matter has chosen a path. Divine matter is in motion and has a singular channel of expressing itself that it has chosen to pursue. This is Kuwamba. Everybody got that? Don't try to act smart. You didn't get it. Okay. So when we create something, when we have the thought, what do we use to create things with? Thought. Mind. Okay, good.
Thought, word, action.
Thought, word, action. Cool. But action is not what we're creating with. Action is here now. It's created. So it's a first thought. Go back to thought. So thought, and we learned this from the 7 Hermetic laws, the law of mentalism, which says that everything is comprised of the mind. Even the universe is the mind. So it means that all things are made of the substance of the mind matter. So your thoughts are made of the same thing as the creation, the same substance. Okay? That's the 7 Hermetic laws. So we understand that. We understand that before thought does anything, right, it's chaos, which is really Akasha, Aliyah, or the etheric realm. It's just all over the place. Now that's the substance. Now, we want some of it because we want to create something, right? It's all over the place. So what we do is we say, I want to create a house, let's just say. So we grab some of it, that matter. I don't want to call it matter, let's call it essence. We grab some of it and we think house. So it's not here. Let's say it's not real to us here. All right? So we're still up here. It's still in thought realm. Okay? But it's been visualized as a house, and that matter of creation has now been formed in our minds as the house. We see the front door, the backyard, the driveway, everything. But we see it here. It's been mentalized. Okay? Now what happens if we think about it long enough, it's going to fall down. From the moment we think about it, from the moment it came from here where it was just chaos, and it came down to here, it's been ordered. Okay? But because it's still in order and it's mental material, what can we do with it? Right. We could change it. We could just, and do something. I don't want a house, I want a trailer. Because we change our minds. Right? As it falls down and becomes a part of creation, it's picking one channel of expression. It has to choose one channel now. It's not going to be changed. Because now it comes into the world of matter. To change it, we can reconfigure it. Like I could take your knife and melt it down and make a necklace. But it's still the same thing. It's still the same metal. So I can reconfigure it, but it's chosen one channel of expression, and the expression has been metal. The expression has been wood. The expression has been, water. Those are channels of expression, and they're singular channels. Everybody understand that? If you don't, it's okay. I'm the king of examples. I can go all night. Everybody got it?
Yes.
Like, okay, I'm going to let you let it ride it. So creativity is when it actually goes through its channel. When it's in the place of order, it's been taken from chaos and at least mentally ordered. At least. That's why when you read in the Bible, it says, the earth was formed, it was void without form. That was the chaos, the creation material. Okay? And then when God said, let there be light, or Elohim said, let there be light, the light brought order. However, nothing was created yet. Nothing was created. Elohim just said, let me just try to make some form here by putting some light, because light seeks to define something. If I shine a beam of light, it's not going to stop till it hits you. It's not going to go around you. And it's looking for something to hit on and be concrete and matter. That's what the light is. Light seeks for definition. Even a star. The star keeps traveling. You know that light beam travels till it hits your eye. That's its destination. Anytime you see the light from a star, it's going thousands, millions, and millions of miles to stop right on your eyelid or your eyeball. Talk about purpose. So that's Kuamba. Imani. You probably know some people named Imani. Imani means faith. Imani is spelled I. I started writing it. I-M-A-N-I. Baba Karanga tells us to believe with all of our heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. That's faith. Now, immediately, even as a child, I had an issue with this principle because I'm not into belief. Why would I believe something? If I believe it, then I doubt it. You know? I believe if I sit in the chair, it will hold me up. I believe. That means I probably shouldn't sit. Belief is weak. Belief is fairy tales. You know, I believe in Santa Claus. I believe in the Easter Bunny. You know, now if you believe in something long enough, it will be. But it may be disharmonious. Go back to your purpose. So I don't believe in my people. I make efforts and strides to know my people. And then once I get to learn and know my people, then I shape my agenda from that. Not based on what I believe. Because a lot of us are running around still believing that there's all these babies out here for us to save. And these babies will lynch you first before they take your information. They don't want it. Not all of them, but some of them. So this collective idea of my people, this identity group, is dangerous. I told you before that could be suicidal. So I say on Imani, it's time to move beyond belief. We have come into a place of knowing, not just because we're in the age of Aquarius. This begins with knowing who our people, parents, teachers, and leaders are. Just because you came through a certain birth canal doesn't mean that that's your mother. Some of you may have heard me say on my show that I feel that family is the worst thing going. Most of the trauma that any of you here could talk about, it came from your family. I know. It sounds like, now it sounds like I'm talking like some cult talk. But it's because it's a trauma that you needed to wake up. So you chose that family before you came to the planet when you were still in creation matter mode. You looked down and said, okay, if it's too smooth for me, I'll have no reason to become conscious. I gotta go. It's like coming to America. What was Hakeem and Simi? What made their journey so great? They went to Queens. I mean, as soon as they got out the cab, there's garbage and glass on the street. That's what made the journey great. They had enough money, they could have went to Park Avenue. They could have went anywhere and just could have found some bougie. All right, come on, let's go. But the fact that he went down to the gutter and then went and worked in McDowell's, you know, he went so low that he had to use character to climb back up. Character that he may not have had when he was the Prince of Zamunda. If you didn't see Coming to America, I guess it doesn't make any sense to you. Everybody didn't see Coming to America? Sure, it was part of your culture. At this point, that's like heritage. So, this idea of falling down into the deepest corruption that you could possibly find is what makes makes you actually the most powerful. That's why even when you look across the USA, the most conscious people are in the worst areas. Think about, and if you can't see it, think about music. The greatest artists came out of the worst hoods. Philly, Chicago, South Bronx, hip hop, Detroit. The worse it gets, the higher the gods rise. I got that. Because the gods rise out of ferment and rot. So the more rotten and fermented it is, the higher we can go. That's why I don't believe in my people. I don't believe in my people's struggle. Because if I believed in my people's struggle, then that would actually mean that I'm not going to rise anywhere because we all struggling to get somewhere. I believe in the rotten nature and character of my people. I believe in that. I believe that they're going to continue to sink and sink and sink into total self-destruction. Because if they don't sink in total self-destruction, I can't rise. And when I rise, that's the only way I can pull them out of it. That's called balance. So you can't have all this good stuff without there being some bad stuff. It just doesn't work that way. But they can't have all that bad stuff. Listen to all of this, but look at what we're doing right now. Some people's lives are being changed right now, and it may not be you, it may be the person you go share this information with. Meanwhile, the beast is out on the prowl. You see the balance? That's just the way it goes. That's why you can't be emotionally attached to your 14 African principles. You have to be able to look and sit from the middle and look at it from looking at your internal community and external community and look at it from a place of isness. It is what it is. That's all. It is. I may have a brief emotional concern. I may get angry for the moment, but then I come back to center. That's finding your center point. Okay, so I also say it is our ability. Faith is to dive into the abyss of the unseen world. Because faith is a knowing, it's not a belief. Faith is Amun. In Kemet, we had Amun, which you may say Amen, or Amun. And Amun was the black hole that existed behind the sun, that we always knew existed there, although scientists just recently found it. There's a black hole behind our sun. Well, because whenever you hear the sun referenced in Kemetic structure, they're not talking about this burning sun. This was called the demiurge. The real sun was the black sun behind it. We called Amun. The sun you see, which you think is yellow, but obviously it's black because nothing could burn that long and still be yellow. But children still paint it yellow. Right? That's because you let them do that. If you let them paint it in a real color, you look up and the sky would start changing. They're controlling all this. It's the only reason why it's cold right now. Because you told the children we got 4 seasons. Stop telling them that stuff. You're lying to them. Let them reconstruct reality based on what they want. If you take them to Florida and let them see a tropical environment, I wish it was like this all the time. Okay. You better start wishing it. You know, heating bills is crazy. So, when you think about the demiurge, which is the sun that exists behind, that's the hidden aspects, which constitutes the powerful aspects in all of it. Like I said, more in this room is hidden than what we actually see. All the stuff that's hidden is our moon. That's considered to be 97% of creation. What you can't see. We only see 3% of creation. I can't see the chemicals in the air. I can't see any of that stuff. I mean, I don't think I can. Maybe I am seeing it. But I'm not on the right angle. So, faith is our dive into the abyss of the unseen. And because of that, faith relates itself to balance. Balance is what? Traveling across the horizontal plane, or what I call the horizon. Haru, rising. Haru means light or consciousness, or heaven, that which is above. Heaven has fallen to the earth, to the corruption of the earth, only to rise again. But it can only rise again along that horizon, but it has to find the balance point. It has to find the flat walk. That's what you call your life purpose. What am I supposed to do here on the earth? Okay? So, The reason why balance relates itself to faith is because balance is a dive into the abyss of the unknown. Balance is when we say, I'm going to walk across this earth plane because I know at the same time I'm walking across the unseen plane. So I have to learn how to balance this here because there's something else. There's more than this. That's faith. And it's not a belief or a hope. You only hope for things that you're anxious about. If you have anxiety, I hope I get something for Christmas. You're scared. It's fear-based. If you believe something, it's fear-based. Because you only believe it because you feel like you should have that. So I believe in it. Because you feel a loss of power. If I don't have it, I'll be powerless. If I don't know this, I'll be powerless. So I'll say I believe it, even though I really don't know what I'm talking about. As long as I say belief and somebody challenges me, I'm going to say, well, you know, everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. What you're saying is that we're all entitled to be scared and fearful. We can say we know, don't know. Done. I either know something or I'm ignorant of it. Period. Some things I'm dumb about. Dumb doesn't mean I don't know. It's okay. Some things I might do and I'm stupid about it. Stupid means I knew better but didn't do better. There's a difference between dumb and stupid. Okay? So, questions before we go to the next meeting. Right. Everybody clear?
Question, when you use the amen, does that have anything to do when somebody says something that they believe or they have faith in and they say amen?
Yes, like when they're praying, they're saying, and they say amen at the end. Yes, because amen means that even though we didn't see it manifest, it's there. So God, please let me get this new job. Now the problem is where everything gets confused, because most of the time where people using amen, they're either begging or it's just some type of plea. Amen never goes, because if I know something or something is already there, I don't have to beg for it. So if I'm praying, most of the time when you're praying, you're begging. Actually, the word pray means to beg. God, if it be your will, if it be in your plan, please, da. And that God is saying, we're the same thing. I'm you, you're me. So what are you talking about? You're talking to yourself. Do you want it? Then just affirm that it's yours. So affirmations are so much better than prayers. Okay? And when we affirm something, even though we don't see it, we call upon the unseen being of Amun. So we may say, the job is mine, Amun. I don't see it, but it's there. Okay? Not interchangeable with Ashe. People will tell you that when we do collective events, and they only say that because they want the Christians to feel comfortable. So they lie to them. Or they just don't know any better. Oh, you can say Ashe or Amen. It's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Ashe is spiritual authority. You can say them both together. Ashe is saying, I have the right to this. It is in my spiritual divine ordination that I get this. This is mine. Amun is saying, I don't see it with my physical eye, but my first eye does. Okay. So real quick, we'll give the correlations. Anybody have any other questions? Okay, good. So we know that harmony relates itself to what?
Contract?
Oh, yeah, kind of. It's in there. Good. Umoja. Unity. Truth, which is actualization, relates itself to self-determination or Kuji Chagali. I'll spell that one for you. Kujichagulia. Justice, which is the rewards and punishments that define our character, relate itself to what? Ujima, collective work and responsibility. Okay? Propriety or righteousness relates itself to what? Nia. Because your righteousness and your propriety has to be contextually relevant. If it's not contextually relevant, it's just foolishness. If you're holding on and believing in a value and moral system that doesn't even work towards your liberation, you're an idiot. A programmed idiot. Okay? Order, how we arrange divine matter, relates itself to what? Kuamba, which is consciousness in motion. So creativity is nothing but consciousness in motion. Order is consciousness in stillness. Balance relates itself to what? Okay, balance is knowing ourselves within the quantum field. What is the quantum field? Anyone? Anybody here study quantum mechanics, quantum dynamics?
The abyss?
No. But good, but no. Good answer. It's kind of that, but it ain't that. The quantum field, just look at it like this. You have molecules, right? You're made up of molecules, right? The air is made up of molecules, right? So if I'm made up of molecules, the air in between is made up of molecules, and I'm touching the air, and you're touching the air, that means we're touching. That's the quantum field. Quantum is a measurement, okay? So the field is a measurement, it's a field. How much space is actually between us? And once you understand quantum dynamics, you understand that there is no space between us. There's only a perception of it. Because in fact, our molecules are exchanging and touching right now. Okay? That's balance. Because I have to balance that knowing with my ego. Yeah, we're all one. But I got some other stuff I got to do. But we're all one. The New Age community will get you trapped in the we're all one thing. You gotta be careful with that. Okay, we're all one, and sense and abundance, and we all come from the source, and we're source that has manifested itself into divine supremeness, and all things come to you, and all that garbage. Just throw it out. Get rid of it. It doesn't work. It's not contextually relevant for your struggle. It's contextually relevant for people who don't want to feel guilty about what they've done. Because we're all one. You did it to yourself. Okay. So, real quick, because I know we're running out of time here. And I see not only are you fidgeting, but you're also fading. Because you lack one of the other principles, stamina. No. How would we apply all of this? Did I just tell you a bunch of deep stuff so now you can go to somebody and say, you know, truth really means this? How do we apply it? Yeah.
Having will.
How do we apply it?
By having will.
Oh, by having will? Okay, good. Will towards what?
Purpose. Truth. No?
All right, couldn't hear you. Will towards truth, purpose.
Liberation.
To liberation. But how do we actually apply it? How do we apply it, though? Make it simple. It's got to be simple now. It's too... We got tablets and stuff. Like, all this complication. So our work's got to be simple. You said research? Somebody said research? No more research. We're tired of research. We know too much. We don't agree. Implement. How do we implement it?
Keep it coming.
Give me some examples. How?
Affirmations. I am justice. I am truth.
Okay, for what? What you doing that for?
For liberation.
Liberation, and then what about freedom? And what are you liberating from? What you gonna do with your liberation? What you gonna do with freedom? I know these are hard to answer. Because normally when we go to workshops like this, nobody asks these questions. Because if I don't ask this question, I can get you to come back next time. I don't want you to come back next time. I want new people in the seats. Because I want you to now apply what you got and say, hey, I'm good now. I'll get a refresher maybe 2 years from now from that brother. But I got it. And you'll get it if you have an application. So let me give you an example. So let's look at, real quick, family, right? Let's look at the issues that play where we're at in our situation, right? None of us have family, at least not sane ones. If we look at family, how should mates be selected? Consider the 14 African principles now in answering. How should mates be selected?
Well, their inner self, nothing dealing with their outer self.
Yeah, we knew that though.
Yeah, how should mates be selected?
By getting to know more, like asking those questions, things
What they know.
Yeah, that's the other stuff though. Nah.
Fulfillment?
Before you even go out, before you start going to the club, the boogaloo.
Knowing yourself
Knowing yourself, okay, that's a part of it. Good. How would you know yourself?
or what you want.
Okay. Now, how does that fall into our principle set? Can we say, if I ask that question, can we scan through our 14 principles and get an answer?
Maybe.
Ain't no maybe. If it was a maybe, I wouldn't be here. I worked hard on this. Ain't no maybes now. I went through a lot of scenarios.
Wouldn't you create your partner? You would create your partner. Because you think about them, you manifest them.
Good. Now, what would I use to create the partner with? Thoughts. Thoughts based on what reference? The 14 principles you just learned. So, for instance, how would family be selected? I would go right to harmony and unity. Okay. I would see what notes am I currently harmonizing with. What's my vibration?
Just basically by you have to know, back to knowing yourself. When you come into balance, you'll know your direction, your path, and exactly going through your own path. It'll create abundance.
How do I find that path?
Through dealing with your emotional and thinking.
That's not on here. You took us.
Oh yeah, my fault.
You took us to emotion. Nope.
based on your condition.
Based on my condition. So what principle are we talking about? Nia. So my path has to be contextually relevant to my condition and my community. So I'm going to sit back. What is my life purpose? Well, how can I serve my community? What community I'm talking about, though?
Community itself.
Right. I got to start there. Okay. What would I do? Is there anything that you would do for yourself? Like when I talk about, hey, you got to do this for yourself, you got to study that. None of you have said one thing. And that thing is, none of you have said, well, how much am I going to get paid for improving myself? Correct? It's something you would just do for free. Because it's something that needs to be done, right? So one of the greatest tools you can do to find your purpose in the external community is take the same exact approach. You look at yourself, say, what do I need? Okay, let me get this together. And you're not thinking about money because this is what needs to be done. Look at the external community the same way. That's how you find the need. So when we're dealing with finances, we go right through that same 14 African principle list again. And what I would say is that's when we begin to use the Kuumbic balance. Finances in the middle of a recession have to be created, first of all. Okay? But aside from that, our creativity and our order causes us to do one thing. When I visualize what I want, right, using that matter of creation, if you notice, at no point did I tell you why I can't create that with my mind. If I tell you right now to think about, a beach or a sunny day in your mind, what's stopping you?
Reality. The perception of reality.
Think about it.
Perception of reality? Of your reality?
Would stop you?
Yeah.
Think about a sunny day. Did you do it?
Only yourself will stop you.
Was anybody blocked when I said sunny day? So nothing blocks your thought. It's your third dimensional reality that is affected by your perceptual reality that can block it. So order fixates the thought and the energy on what is, on what you want. And when you're fixated on that, there are no obstacles. It is your ego that fixates on the obstacle. Man, I can't have no money. You don't want money. I mean, I can't get money right now. I'm not hiring. I went everywhere. I went to Walmart and Denny's. I'm not hiring right now. You know what I mean? And why would I want money anyway? Money's not real. It's not even backed by gold or silver. I learned that watching it on DVD. So why would I even want to get money right now? That's just stupid. You sound stupid right now. You see, it does. That's ego. But the image that we fixated on has nothing to do with any of that. So when it comes to finance, you on there. But the two of you got it together. When it comes to finances, the first thing we have to do is draw up a mental image of why we want those finances, or maybe even up the finances. Okay? And then what we really do is once we pull back and we fixate on that image, our soul will actually handle the rest. We just have to stay fixated. That's what you said. That's why affirmations are so powerful. You keep saying it over and over, and what it does is it formulates a mental image. It makes it more clear, and you fixate on it because you're affirming it every day verbally. You're not affirming, and they'll even tell you when you're doing affirmation for money, you should never say, I want money. Because then what is the image that you're creating? What are you creating with that matter? A want for money, right? I have money. I have abundance. You know, all the fluffy stuff they tell you all. So, but once you fixate on that, the obstacles only become a part of your perceptual reality. That's right there in the principles. So whatever it is that you're establishing, trying to establish, or going through, you should always do a rundown of those principles first. By doing a rundown of those principles, you can create or deconstruct whatever it is that you need to. All right? So that is
should the affirmation say I have or I am creating this money?
You don't have to say I'm creating. Creation takes care of itself. I have. Or, yeah, I have, this is mine. And what you really don't ever really want to fixate on money, because you're fixating on something that's illusionary. You want to fixate on the things that you would get with the money. Now, that's harder. But that's more powerful, because that causes for a mental image. It's very easy. If I say, how much money are you going? A lot. What's a lot? I don't know. A lot. So I ain't got to think about it. You know. That's how most people will respond to that. But if I say, well, what you going to do with it? You don't know. Pay off some bills. Buy a car. Something stupid. Like I was talking to somebody. He wanted me to do something for him. He was like, because I need to buy my girlfriend a present. Stupid stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? I talk him out of it. Buy your girlfriend nothing. She'll love you more. And you know that. That's another lecture. So, so it's the 14 African principles that we use to run down. Okay. Anyone have any questions? Wow, you all got this real quick and easy, huh? So you are all able to reestablish except for Michelle. Okay.
I like more like the clarification. So you mean that the solution or the practical application is to everything that I'm going through, just try to apply it to the 14 African principles, try to see it.
Use it as your reference point. Because think in terms of if you're going through a situation, usually you're going to look for some type of affirmation or something. You might even look for Bible scripture that speaks to what you're going through. But it's not really relevant because it doesn't speak to our communal struggle. So if you use property, whatever you're going through is an expression of what your internals are going through. My aunt already covered that for you. She said, listen, these are the internal parts of your community. These 7 parts right here. There's more of them, but these are the 7 major parts of your community. If there's a problem with any one of these parts, you're going to have a problem in your external life. So you should always use that as your reference. If I don't have money, all I have to do is look for the law of reciprocity. I ain't got no money. Then I have to say, have I given any money? Have I given anything? Time, energy? I fly, get a dandelion off the street here. Because if I ain't gave nothing, I ain't going to get nothing. The law of reciprocity already told me that. Justice tells you that. You see? So that's what I mean by using them as a checklist like that. And then you can also use it. Remember, the Ma'atic principles build the internal. The Nguzu Saba build the external. So all of us talking about nation building and all that community building, you have to tap into those Nguzu philosophical principles. But you can't build a community or nation until the individual is built, or the nation will be just as sick and dysfunctional as the individual.
The 7 also not relate to the 7 chakras or anything?
Not really. No. That number 7 is always going to be a vital number because it's just a number that's reproduced. I mean, you have 7 layers of skin. You know, you have 7 notes in the music scale. Ultimately, could you get them when you late? Yeah. But when you're studying certain things, you don't always want to try to correlate everything because then you don't get, you know, the message. But the 7 chakras would be more like entities, or the 7 chakras are realms of just worlds. Look at them as just worlds, and then it'll be easier for you. And you don't want to get stuck in any world.
Well, when you talk about like not becoming too attached to like earthly things and getting caught up in like the you and not understanding that you're more than what you are, what would you say would be the reasoning behind, like, say for instance, the ancient people of Kemet for taking like personal belongings along with them through the journey through you know, life, death, and rebirth or whatnot?
Right. It's the law of reciprocity. I need currency in the next world. The majority of what they took was gold.
Okay.
Gold is a conductor for electricity. And they understood it was the value of electricity that allowed them to transcend different worlds.
Right.
So that's why they considered that. I mean, they ate gold. You know, yeah, they ate gold. You know about that? Yeah, because it made if I'm more transducive to electricity, that means more information and more messages can flow through me. You see, so the taking of the possessions was not just like y'all can't have it, it's mine, or it just makes a tomb look flyer. It wasn't really about that. It was more so the more gold, or the more gems and things, and these are precious stones that I have around me, the more I'm able to transcend to the other worlds.
Right.
Okay.
And it's also like, as far as electricity, you would deal with magnetism also.
Right. But they have to go hand in hand. Right. The electromagnetic, but magnetism only really becomes in play more so when we're here. Electromagnetics are dynamics. The magnetics are the feminine. The electric is the masculine. So your body is electromagnetic. Okay. But your body is once the matter condenses and it's still animated, it condenses into electromagnetic body. You call that the aura. That's just an electromagnetic field. Sure.
Different foods, different substances, alcohol, weed, do they affect your electromagnetism, your electricity? You think they also?
They affect mine.
Right. Do they undermine the laws of Maya? At the end of the day,
they undermine it for me.
Right. Okay, here you go.
You see what I'm saying? Because I got to be on point. So at one point I did engage in those things, and it didn't undermine it for me. I started smoking weed when I was 9 and stopped when I was 13. That was my run. You know, from that point on forward, when I had to start beating up bullies on the block, I couldn't get high anymore. Everybody used to call me, yo, so-and-so Butcher's back, Duke is back. I got to go fight some. I couldn't be sitting somewhere high. You see? So for me, it would undermine my purpose, because my purpose was always to be a champion for my people. If that's not your purpose, maybe your purpose is just to be a meditator. Puff pass. You know, it's fine. You know. So again, you have to really see, that's the justice aspect. You have to be able to define it for yourself. But even if your definitions vary, as long as everyone is falling within the same lines of the same principles, there's going to be harmony and pulse. It's going to be a unified pulse. Because I can say that to you, and if you say, well, I'm a drink, I can still say, but we can still be a part of the same community, though. Because at least we gauge it against the same reference point. So the worst thing ever. She gonna stop something like dumb. She don't care how she like me knock my tooth out, so I want to stop. The woman just keep going. I can see that.
Wait, I have one more.
Sure.
I want to just know about like reincarnation. Like, sorry.
Oh, you as well. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Peace out.
I guess as far as culture, like whoever we are, like, if I'm black now, am I black again, or am I the different things, like between?
So you gotta understand that. A lot of people have trouble with what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I'm so confused about this because there's so many different sources around, so I guess it's just kind of whatever resonates with me.
Right.
Yeah.
No, well, my theory is like, sometimes we may incarnate something because that's what I'm doing. Like, there was a time when we could get it, get that information. So, somebody, one of our ancestors, they incarnated something else. So we can get that information and pull it out. You know, a lot of things are great. What's sad about it? The tunes on the house, now, you and I wasn't even going. We couldn't even get on a plane back then. You know, go to a dig site. So, it's not, to me, it's not far from my thinking that the ancestors that done. That's me. That's somebody who say that's blasphemy, but I don't see why not. If the whole spectrum is enough, then I'm going to utilize it. Like right now, I told New York, they giving 5 gold bars. Like, we can talk all this stuff, but what you can now be like, yo, and I got some makeup in the studio. You can put it on. Me and you can take gold bars. We're going to do it. I would. I'll talk all this, listen, shave the naps off, and just get to go. And then I'll take it off when I come back home. Yeah. What's the theory?
Well, it makes sense though.
But actually, I'm not the contrary, because I've channeled something.
Okay.
So, like, I ask them, what would you do?
Yeah. So, appreciate that.
Sure.
So you want to this? I seen online it said from today's date to the next month is around the same time. Is it how's it going? Like, another month. Although you come here twice or something.
Yeah, not know. I mean, I think you set stuff up. Yeah, I don't think so. Okay. All right.
I hear that. No doubt, right? All right, man.
All right, safe travels. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.
I have a question.
Well, why you ask questions? No, so inconsistent.
No.
No, I don't know.
Because I guess you're right. Yeah.
What's the question?
Okay, it's a couple of right? No. When it comes to charging and discharging, is that why you go to Shango?
Not really. You go to Shango for courtship so that he can subdue. Shango's the king. He makes people do what you want. And for discharge, you would really go to an earth energy. Like, even Ogun.
Which makes sense as to why they should leave things in the earth to like kind of.
Oh, peace, brother. Give thanks. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. You said like.
Yeah, because Ogun, even Onile, anything that's dealing with soil, all the earth energy, even Obatala. But Obatala is a little too high up. But the Obatala deals with justice because Obatala is Mahat. But you want to go for earth energies, anything that discharge, and that's not just court case. That's anytime you got fire coming at you. If you want to discharge fire, you go to an entity that deals with that.
Okay.
Shango will work, but Shango is like, you're going to do what I tell you to do.
Oh, okay.
Because he's a king. So that's what that is. You know, he's subduing everything that's in his path.
I'm just about binary.
Binary is 0 and 1. So 0 represents something that's more. This is computer.
Yeah.
1 is an active digit.
Like male and female.
That's all it is. But through the combination of 0 and 1, you can use those two numbers to create anything. He needs that shit.
Okay.
So, yeah, between the combination of those numbers, you can create anything.
Okay, that makes sense. So, wait.
0 1 0 1.
Yeah.
2. 0 1 0 1 0 1 0 1. Be like 3.
Because it's Oh, because it's okay. I can. Wait.
And that's what we're using these five.
Yeah, I hear, but I don't get it yet. Okay.
You know that's Kim from the show, right? That's Justin.
Yes.
Is it different?
Is it different?
You figured y'all want to know each other's names. You probably see each other on the group before, right? You were just commenting on each other's posts, I think, right? Oh, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
Now I see your face.
Because he does the sexy posts on Facebook.